The shutdown we saw over these past couple of weeks exposed once again just how much the Tea Party hates government. These right-wingers vilified federal workers. They mocked the very idea that government can help people. But today, President Obama made a powerful and emotional argument for why government is vital to this country.
One of the things that I hope all of us have learned these past few weeks is that it turns out smart, effective government is important. It matters. I think the American people during the shutdown had a chance to get some idea of all the things, large and small, that government does that make a difference in people's lives. And we hear all the time about how government is the problem. Well, it turns out we rely on it in a whole lot of ways. So let's work together to make government work better, instead of treating it like an enemy or purposely making it work worse.
Government is not the enemy. We, the people, are the government. We have made this together to help each other. Government is the FEMA worker helping victims of a natural disaster. Government is the firefighter saving your home from the flames. Government is the teacher helping your children to read and write. So today the president had a message for those government workers who have been so maligned by the right.
I've got a simple message for all the dedicated and patriotic federal workers who've either worked without pay or been forced off the job without pay these past few weeks, including most of my own staff. Thank you. Thanks for your service. Welcome back. What you do is important. And don't let anybody else tell you different. Especially the young people who come to this city to serve. Believe that it matters. We come from different parties, but we are Americans first. And that's why disagreement cannot mean dysfunction. It can't degenerate into hatred. The American people's hopes and dreams are what matters, not ours. Our obligations are to them.
President Obama says government is part of the solution. Conservatives say government is part of the problem. This question has been at the heart of our political debate for decades. Progressives won that argument during the 2012 election, and the polls show we won it again during the shutdown. Joining me now is Denver Mayor Michael Hancock. He's part of the Mayors for Educational Excellence Tour, a cross-country initiative to improve America's education policies and programs. Also joining me is journalist Susan Milligan. Thank you both for being here this evening.
Thank you, Reverend.
Glad to be with you.
Mayor, how has the shutdown made it clear to American people how important the government really is?
Al, I think you said it perfectly well. You know, when your house is on fire, government's responding. When your sidewalks are in disrepair, government's responding. When you have potholes in your street or snow on your roads, government is responding. In reality, government was created by the people for the people. And in reality, government is responding to protect and take care of the people. And so what we have seen in Washington has been extremely disappointing, and I think has shaken up the confidence of the American people in government. But one in which you have seen time and time again in the last 3 years that the American people believe that government has a role to play, and we expect them to play it.
Susan, we have seen this argument about government going back for decades. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan crystallized the right's view about government. Watch this.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Is that the right wing's assessment of government, Susan? Is that where this stems from, a basic belief that government is the problem?
I actually think it's much worse than that, Reverend, because now it's very, very personal. I mean, there's always been sort of an anti-regulatory, anti-government tone to a lot of the Republican Party, but now you have members of Congress who don't respect the very institution in which they're serving, don't respect their colleagues, certainly don't listen to their leaders, don't respect the office of the presidency, wanted to deny their own staff health coverage, treat federal workers like they're a bunch of parasites, thought nothing of having them be without work for 16 days. I was on the Hill. I was watching these Capitol Police officers go into work every day, rush to protect these people who couldn't pay their salaries, rush to protect them when that woman was, you know, driving into the Capitol complex. And they're not getting paid. And I don't even know how they looked at those Capitol Police and did that. But the problem is they've started to demonize and demean the whole idea of public service. And what's going to happen is we're not going to get anybody good running for office anymore. We're not going to get anybody good who will want to serve in the government anymore, because why would you when you're being disrespected this much?
You know, Mr. Mayor, when she mentions that, Susan talks about that, the whole country sort of venom conservatives have for government workers when a GOP congressman blamed a park ranger for keeping people from the World War II memorial that their shutdown closed. Watch this.
How do you look at them and say, how do you deny them access? I don't get it.
It's difficult.
Well, it should be difficult.
It is difficult. I'm sorry, sir.
Park Service should be ashamed of these things.
I'm not ashamed.
Well, you should be.
I mean, fine, we can disagree about the role of government, but the venom that has been demonstrated and the disregard for government workers, I believe Susan said, treating them like parasites, this is a new level of contempt, really, for government and those that are doing government work.
I think so. And I think the reality is we saw, or what we hear as far as the venom, as you described, toward government workers or the government, I really believe is the loud minority in this country speaking. I think most people believe, just as President Obama just spoke about, that we're proud of our federal workers. We're proud of our state workers and our local workers. People have a great deal of respect for those men and women who serve them every day in this country, regardless of what level it is, and that we're seeing and hearing from the minority, quite frankly, they have, quite frankly, stonewalled and held up this country. But in reality, the American people control this, Reverend, and we got to be real about this. If we're not proud of our Congress, if we're not proud of the way things are operating on any level, then we are the ones who hold the power by the ability to vote and decide who represents us in Washington. And if the members of Congress don't want to go to Washington and represent the people of America, then Americans must stand up and make a change. And we're getting things done on the local level. As a mayor, I cannot not balance the budget. As a mayor, I cannot respond when my people call on me to respond, or not have a police force ready and willing to go when they're called upon. And that same kind of sense of accountability must be transferred to the federal government, to this disconnected Congress that, quite frankly, just drove and drug the American people through the mud.
Susan, has this shutdown changed, in your judgment, this discussion on the role of government? Has the country moved or shifted in any way as a result of these last 16 days on the question of government and the role of government?
I think so, because I think before the shutdown, it was a sort of amorphous concept for a lot of people, and they thought of the government as just this institution which, you know, sent them paperwork and tax forms and so forth. And once people realized what you do without, and it's not just going to the World War II Memorial, it's getting your WIC payments, it's going to a public library, it's all sorts of things that government does. And I think once people realized the reach that, you know, the government has in just providing basic services to people, I hope anyway, they developed a little bit more appreciation for it.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you about something else that's very important to me. You and 3 other mayors are on a tour, an education tour, to share successful educational policies that are closing the achievement gap in your cities. Tell us about that.
Well, there are 4 mayors, all of which are mayors of color, who are leading the city in which we were raised in and went to public school in. And each of our cities kind of reflect the growing achievement gap that occurs in our city. So we've decided to come together, kind of raise the level of the conversation, and talk about the good things that mayors are doing on the local level, some of the promising practices that we have going on. And so Mayor Johnson from Sacramento, Mayor Taveras from Providence, Rhode Island, and Mayor Julian Castro are joining me here in Denver, and I'll join them in their respective cities to continue to talk about the promising practices, but raise the bar as far as the conversation is concerned about the importance of working together to close the achievement gap. A lot of the kids we're talking about look like us, and it's important for us to reflect the importance of the mayors coming together saying we get things done on the local level. You don't see what happened in Congress on the local level. And we need to deal with the issues as important as education on the local level in order to move the lever.
Very important work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Michael Hancock and Susan Milligan, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.